What if I told you the NBA almost failed before it became a billion-dollar global empire? From half-empty arenas in the 1940s to worldwide superstardom, the NBA's journey is one of risk, rivalry, and revolution. How did a small American league become a global phenomenon? Let's find out. In today's episode of English Legend, we explore the complete history of the NBA from its humble beginnings in 1946 to the era of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, and today's international superstars. You'll discover how rule changes, legendary rivalries, television, and global expansion transformed basketball into one of the most powerful sports leagues in the world. And while you learn history, you'll also improve your English through clear storytelling and powerful vocabulary. Let's step onto the court. The birth of the NBA 1940s and the mid-1940s. Professional basketball was far from glamorous. Games were played in small arenas, often half-empty, and few people imagined the sport would one day become a global empire. In 1946, a group of arena owners in major American cities created a new league called the Basketball Association of America. Their idea was simple but ambitious: bring professional basketball into large urban arenas that were usually used for hockey. They believed big cities meant bigger crowds. However, professional basketball was unstable at the time. Another league, the National Basketball League, was already operating in smaller industrial towns across the Midwest. Instead of competing forever, the two leagues decided to join forces. In 1949, they officially merged and formed the National Basketball Association, the NBA. But the early years were difficult. Teams struggled financially. Some franchises folded. Attendance was inconsistent. Basketball was still slower, rougher, and less exciting than today's game. There was no three-point line, no global television audience, no million-dollar contracts. Yet something powerful had begun. A new professional sports league had been born, one that would survive hardship, evolve through innovation, and eventually transform into one of the most influential sports organizations in the world. The NBA did not start as a giant. It started as a risk, and that risk would change sports history forever. The league fights for survival. 1950s. The 1950s were not glamorous for the NBA. In fact, the league was fighting to survive. Many teams struggled financially. Small crowds filled the arenas, and some franchises disappeared completely. Basketball games were often slow and low-scoring. Teams would sometimes hold the ball for minutes at a time to protect a small lead. Fans became bored. Something had to change. That change came in 1954. A team owner named Danny Biasen introduced one of the most important rules in basketball history: the 24-second shot clock. For the first time, teams were required to attempt a shot within 24 seconds. This single innovation transformed the sport overnight. The pace increased. Scores went up. The game became faster, more exciting, and more watchable. At the same time, the league began producing its first true superstar, George Mikan, playing for the Minneapolis Lakers. Mikan dominated the court with his size and skill. He became the NBA's first big attraction and proved that basketball could produce national heroes. However, challenges remained. Racial integration was still new in professional basketball. In 1950, the NBA quietly broke its color barrier, opening the door for African American players, who would later transform the league. The 1950s were a decade of experimentation, courage, and survival. The NBA was not yet powerful, but it was learning, adapting, and slowly building the foundation for something much bigger. The real explosion of talent was just around the corner. Dynasties and rivalries, 1960s-1970s. By the 1960s, the NBA had found stability, and now it found greatness. One team rose above all others: the Boston Celtics. Led by the brilliant and disciplined Bill Russell, the Celtics built one of the greatest dynasties in sports history. Between 1957 and 1969, they won 11 championships. Russell's leadership, defense, and intelligence redefined what winning meant in basketball, but every dynasty needs a rival. Enter Wilt Chamberlain, a dominant force of nature. Taller, stronger, and statistically unstoppable. Wilt once scored 100 points in a single game, a record that still stands today. The rivalry between Russell and Chamberlain became the heart of the NBA. It wasn't just about points. It was about philosophy, team success versus individual dominance. Meanwhile, another challenge emerged. In 1967, a new league called the American Basketball Association (ABA) was created. It introduced flashy red, white, and blue basketballs, slam dunk contests, and a revolutionary three-point line. The ABA was bold, entertaining, and competitive. For nearly a decade, the two leagues battled for players and fans. Finally, in 1976, they merged. The NBA absorbed several ABA teams and adopted the three-point line permanently. The league had survived competition. It had embraced innovation. Now, basketball was ready for television, and for SUPERSTARDOM, Showtime and the television revolution 1980s. By the late 1970s, the NBA had talent, but it still lacked mainstream popularity. Television ratings were low. Some playoff games were even shown on tape delay. The league needed something dramatic. It found it in two young superstars. In 1979, Magic Johnson joined the Los Angeles Lakers, bringing charisma, creativity, and a fast-paced style that became known as Showtime. On the opposite coast, Larry Bird arrived at the Boston Celtics, bringing intensity, intelligence, and deadly shooting. Their rivalry, Lakers vs. Celtics, reignited the league. Magic's joyful passing and Bird's competitive fire created must-watch television. The NBA Finals between their teams became national events. Ratings soared. Arenas filled. The NBA was no longer struggling for attention. It was becoming entertainment. During this era, marketing expanded dramatically. The league partnered with major television networks. Player personalities became brands. Basketball shoes, commercials, and highlight reels entered pop culture. The 1980s didn't just revive the NBA, they transformed it. The league was now fast, stylish, and globally broad. And just as Magic and Bird rebuilt the foundation, another figure was preparing to take the NBA beyond America and into the world. The Jordan era and global domination 1990s. If the 1980s revived the NBA, the 1990s made it global. At the center of this transformation stood one man, Michael Jordan, drafted by the Chicago Bulls in 1984. Jordan combined athleticism, competitiveness, and style in a way the world had never seen. He wasn't just winning games, he was creating moments. Game-winning shots, gravity-defying dunks, fierce determination. During the 1990s, the Bulls built a dynasty, winning 6 championships in 8 years. Jordan became more than an athlete. He became a global icon. His partnership with Nike turned basketball shoes into cultural symbols. NBA games were now broadcast in over 100 countries. Children across the world began wearing Bulls jerseys. But Jordan was not alone in elevating the league. Stars like Hakeem Olajuwon, Charles Barkley, and Karl Malone brought international talent and fierce competition. Meanwhile, the 1992 U.S. Olympic Dream Team introduced NBA superstars to a worldwide audience. Accelerating basketball's global growth, the NBA was no longer just an American sports league, it was a global entertainment brand. By the end of the 1990s, arenas were sold out, merchandise was everywhere, and young players around the world dreamed of reaching the NBA stage. The league had entered a new era, one shaped by superstars, marketing power, and worldwide influence. And the next generation was ready to take the spotlight. The Super Team era and global expansion 2000s, 2010s as the new millennium began. The NBA entered a fresh chapter, one defined by global talent, superstar partnerships, and a faster style of play. The early 2000s were dominated by the powerful duo of Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant with the Los Angeles Lakers. Their championships restored the glamour of the league and kept global audiences watching. Soon after, a new face of the NBA emerged, LeBron James, entering the league straight from high school in 2003. LeBron carried enormous expectations. Over time, he became one of the most complete players in basketball history, winning championships, MVP awards, and expanding the league's global reach. This era also introduced the concept of super teams, where star players joined forces to compete for championships. Player movement became more common, and free agency reshaped team power structures. Meanwhile, the game itself evolved. The three-point shot, once rare, became central to strategy. Teams like the Golden State Warriors, led by Stephen Curry, revolutionized basketball with long-range shooting and fast-paced offense. International players also transformed the league. Stars from Europe, Africa, and beyond proved that basketball talent was truly global by the 2010s. The NBA was not just an American league with international viewers, it was an international league with global stars, and the future was becoming even more digital, connected, and worldwide. The NBA today and the future today. The National Basketball Association stands as one of the most powerful sports organizations in the world. What began in small arenas in the 1940s is now a multi-billion-dollar global enterprise. Games are broadcast in more than 200 countries. Millions follow highlights instantly on social media. Players are not just athletes, they are global influencers, entrepreneurs, and cultural icons. The modern NBA is defined by speed, skill, and strategy. Advanced analytics shape how teams play. The three-point shot dominates offenses. Sports science extends careers. Technology tracks every movement on the court. International stars now lead the league. Players from Europe, Africa, Canada, and Australia win MVP awards and championships. Basketball has truly become a global language. At the same time, the NBA has embraced its social voice. Players speak openly about social issues. The league has supported community initiatives and expanded opportunities through the WNBA and youth development programs worldwide. Yet the core of the NBA remains simple: competition, drama, and storytelling. Every era had its heroes, from Russell and Chamberlain, to Magic and Bird, to Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, and beyond. The NBA's history is not just about basketball, it is about evolution. From small-town gyms to sold-out global arenas, the NBA continues to grow, adapting, innovating, and inspiring the next generation. And somewhere right now, a young player is practicing on a quiet court, dreaming of becoming the next chapter in this legendary story.